Yo.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Hacking Health Podcast. I'm your host, Ben Canning, with Dave Kennedy.
Yo, what is up, dude? How are you?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It's another rainy and cold day here in Cleveland, Ohio, but I can't complain. Like, the weather's actually been amazing pretty much this whole, I guess what we call fall here, but normally it's supposed to be like super cold and muggy and everything else, and snow, and we haven't had any of that. So the weather's been good. I still get my vitamin D then, so it's been great.
Luckily that we had the podcast last week on seasonal affective disorder, so you know exactly what you need to do to manage when the weather does change.
That's right. It's definitely in that time where it's starting to change, so it's definitely getting there. But I think we still have a few weeks of decent weather coming out, which is great. So,
to be fair,
how's it in Ireland?
Fine. That's what I was going to say. Like, this morning I left the house in shorts and t-shirt, and like it was maybe, I'm going to say 14 degrees. I don't know what that is, what that translates to, but like 50 something maybe. And it hasn't even really been rainy. Like, it's been fine. No real cause for concern. So the weather in Ireland is also good.
That's awesome. Yeah.
What is the weather? How are you?
Everything else is great. Like, training's been going really well. No injuries.
For anybody who was listening last week, you did get your additional calories this week. So you submitted your check-in daily. I left it another day just to like let you sweat a little bit, and then you did get your additional calories.
Yeah, I did. So the additional calories have been great. Thank you very much. I've been spending it on pizza and Big Macs and Whoppers, and not just kidding.
the only way to spend them.
That's right. No, it's been good though. Like, definitely actually already noticed an increase in energy. So it's amazing what 200 calories a day can do for you. Because, when we talk about caloric surplus and deficits, what I always appreciated with your approach, which has been proven by science and a bunch of other stuff as well, that slight surpluses, slight deficits are definitely the way to go, right? If you do too much of a deficit, you lose too much muscle, and your body starts to shut down. You don't have a lot of energy. You feel like crap. And then, slight surplus, your body has more calories than it knows what to do with. So it gears itself up and you have more energy. You're able to build muscle faster. You're able to maintain that muscle faster. And you also obviously have a byproduct of fat, but you do it gradual and you minimize that fat increase as much as possible while maximizing the muscle strength. It's such a good way of really balancing kind of your ebbs and flows. And I was actually explaining this whole process to we had some friends over our place, and I was talking about how I'm now in my kind of my winter bear bulk season, right? Where I'm going to try to grow my beard out, which is not going to work, by the way. I haven't shaved my beard in like 4 weeks, and
as soon as you shave your beard, your calories get cut. So like if that's not motivation enough to keep it,
that's a good push to maybe. But once I get to that itchy phase, it like really starts to drive me nuts. So I haven't gotten there yet, but I know it's coming. So I'm gonna try to power through to see how far I can keep this beard going. So we'll give updates on everything, as we're going along with the beard status on each podcast to see where it's at, and then eventually you see it probably shaved off. But I'm gonna try. Like I said, I'm gonna try as hard as I can to let this baby grow. But I was talking to some friends, and they're like, well, why do you do that? Why do you go in a surplus, or why do you eat more calories and things like that? And just explaining it to folks, people really have no idea of like how simple it really is. It just comes down to, hey, if your goal is to build as much muscle as possible, you want to be eating the calories for that. And, I think, again, talking about where the whole exercise industry is at, everybody's like, oh, you just have to cut calories. You just have to eat less. You have to do more cardio. And yes, you will have some results with weight loss, but it's not sustainable long term, at least not for most folks. I mean, the ones that can just flip a switch and all of a sudden do cardio the rest of their lives and eat less food, and they're super skinny and they're happy with that, that's great. Like, fantastic. Like, that's all you can do. That's wonderful. But that doesn't work for like 95% or 98% of the population. And so the balance of ebbs and flows of allowing yourself to be a little uncomfortable. And I was actually talking to a good buddy of mine, Jason Vest, who's our CTO over at Biter Defense. I was talking about it last night, and he's like, I just started eating more, because he did exactly what everybody that gets into this whole thing does. They start eating less, but he did it very methodically. Ate just a little bit less, like I told him to, and he put on a lot of muscle mass, but he's like, man, I want to get bigger now. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to eat. And he's like, I'm so uncomfortable right now because like I cut out like pizza, I cut out everything else. And he's like, now I'm eating pizza, I eat calories, and I feel great. I'm getting bigger. He's like, this is amazing. He's like, but I got to trust that I can do that again when I want to lose the weight, right? And I think that's the whole trust factor, that I have where, hey, as soon as I need to cut down, I can cut down. As soon as I want to get bigger, I can get bigger. But I will say that my intensity in my workouts just with 200 more calories have been much more intense than my maintenance phase. So it's been good. The training's been going great. I actually hit a PR on my squat last weekend, as you saw, 500 on my squat. So that was a brand new PR. I need to get a little bit more depth on that next time, but it was nice to feel the weight and to really get down and know that I can get back up again. It was awesome. So things are actually going good. I did 545 on a deadlift. Felt really good. No aches and pains. My shoulders on a bench. I'm doing, heavy benching now. Like my bench is up to like 315 right now. And I don't feel any pain and that's incline bench. I don't feel any pain in my shoulder whatsoever. So like everything's firing on full cylinders, and knock on wood, injury free. And the training's been going great.
Yeah, I think that in a similar, first of all, 500 pounds on a squat is absolutely ridiculous. And I think just what exactly you said, exactly what I was going to say, like just that initial feeling the weight, like your body's not going to just be like, all right, okay, 500 additional pounds here, no problem. It's like, what the fuck is going on? So like,
a couple of times, shaking, the whole body's shaking. It's like, what is going on? Are you going to die? Are you going to die? You're going to die? Okay, I'm okay.
But I think the thing about that is, it's like feeling out the first time. The next time it'll probably still be a little bit shaky. Then after that, it'll get a little bit better, and then you'll be able to work on the depth. But that initial sort of like whenever you are in that PR stage and you're just like, this is the first time I've ever like had that weight in that movement. It's just feeling out, as you said. And in a similar way, I've sort of made the decision that I'm going to push a little bit further into surplus myself. And training is just so much better. Like, yes, okay, do I feel better whenever I'm leaner? Absolutely. Do I feel better when I'm eating less food in terms of like lighter day to day? Yes, absolutely. But whenever I'm in a surplus, I just absolutely love training infinitely more. It's so much more fun. I like feeling strong. I like how I feel day to day. Like I feel my clothes. I'm finally back up over 225 pounds. So we're in a good spot overall. Things are good. Training is good.
I was talking to dude, by the way, your gym looks amazing. Like the pictures you're sending, the videos you're sending, like
come hang out.
I have to. I'm gonna get out there. I'm going to do it. Like it's done. I just gotta get the dates locked in.
A perfect podcast studio here. We can record in person and everything.
That'd be amazing. I'm in. Trust me. I gotta look to your gym. It looks so good. I was talking to Steve Vanover, one of the folks who works over at Binder. They all came in for a meeting this week, and I was telling him about my lifting, and he suggested something to me too, which I'd be curious to see your opinions on, which is more of like a static hold, where you take the weights and it's a powerlifting technique, but essentially you let's just say it's 500, you load 500 or 525, whatever it ends up being, and you just hold it for 20 to 40 seconds just to feel the weight in a position, and then basically unload, and then kind of rinse and repeat. And I guess that I kind of acclimates your body to feeling the weight ahead of time so that you're more comfortable with it as you go along. So that might be something I might want to incorporate, but I wanted to get your opinion on it.
Yeah, but it comes down to like essentially what you're doing is you're creating a new stimulus, and that's how we build and grow muscle. So like that new stimulus of that weight, anything that you can do to aid whenever you actually go and do the lift. Like another thing that we can look at is almost like pin loading. So like put the weight at the bottom of it, almost whenever you're at the bottom of the squat. Now I'm not expecting you just to be able to stand straight up, but see if you get into the bottom of the squat and you have the bar racked up with the safety racks and the bar sitting with the weight on it, and you just get that initial feeling of coming from here slightly up, like that will help you on that way back up again. So there's plenty of things that you can do just to get the feel for it whenever you're entering those new PRs and new ranges.
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, give it a shot and see what works. I try new ways of techniques, and I don't mind holding weight for a little bit and 40 seconds and seeing how it feels.
Somebody comes in and you just stand there with 500
just
pounds.
Like, I'm just hey guys,
20-second hold. Well, before we get into it, I want to get in. I had 2 calls today. One with Chris and one with Prabhu. Chris is going into his second year and Prabhu's going into his third year. And just an interesting sort of like, I guess, part of the journey that's never really spoken about. Essentially, both of them are extremely happy with the progress that they've made so far, and sort of the general conversation between the two of them, 2 separate calls, but similar conversation today was like, okay, right, the goal was to get fit and feel better. And now it's a case of like, let's actually really test to see what we can do. So sort of mapping out what the next year looks like. Chris wants to he's doing a bike ride this in 17 days, and then he wants to basically do 3 times the distance next year. So it's like, what can we do to help him out to do that next year? And then probably in a similar vein, he was like, I want to do a hyrox event. And I was like, no, are you sure that you want to do a hyrox event? He's like, yes, I want to see how the fitness actually translates. So it's cool to sort of see they've nailed the basics. They're happy with the progress. They're happy with the body composition. They feel fitter, but it's like, what's the point? Like, how can we actually test this out and sort of see what the next sort of year looks like? So it's good to sort of come away from I know that we talk about it quite a lot and sort of being a deficit and being a surplus, but I actually focus on performance and sort of feeling better and like actually testing the limits of what the body's actually capable of. So I'm excited to sort of start programming for those guys in the next couple of weeks and what the next essentially 12 months is going to look like for them.
That's awesome. It's awesome.
So today...
real quick though, I had Jeff from Hacking Your Health over at my house this weekend. Yeah,
how was that? You got to say, is that the first ever signed OVERCLOCK tub?
I think so. So I signed an OVERCLOCK and a whey protein for him, and got to meet his family. He's got a beautiful family, and his kids are lifters, which is great. And his one son, I think he's like 19. Really, really awesome. Like, seasoned lifter, you can tell. I was like, man, your arms might be bigger than me. I need to step it up a little bit.
Step it up a little bit.
Yeah. But I introduced them to blood flow restrictions with the power cuffs from Diamond Dallas Page, and they loved it. They're like, oh my gosh, they're dying with those. They're like, this is the hardest thing I've ever done. So it was really cool to put them through a workout and show Jeff a couple things, and good time to get a lift in. And it's just, I always forget how fun it is to work out with other people. I'm always just there by myself, or my son will come sometimes, but it was nice to be able to work out with some folks and, teach things and show around, and it was neat. So fun times.
It's cool to see that happen within the community as well. And Thomas and Jen hosted Randy and Tyler and a couple of other folks, Jill, over the weekend and had sort of a micro event that I was involved in. I'll not talk about it, but it's cool to sort of see those happen organically. And that's essentially what the community and the movement as a whole is about. So it's cool. Right. I want to get into the topic because I know that you and I could talk about this all day, and this actually might end up being 2 parts if we're trying to stick to the time that we want. Today, we are going to talk about, anybody's watching, our pre-workout OVERCLOCK, because we've talked about it here and there. We've mentioned words and not really explained them. I have again put notes together as to what's in it, how many of the names I'm going to fuck up trying to say, why they're in it, why they're dosed the way they are, and how we have come up with this formula on the whole. Sound good?
Yeah, sounds like a good plan to me. One of my favorite topics.
I know. We did this one specifically for you. Right. So we can safely say that you were the chief formulation officer for this. You're the CFO of the company. Walk us through the process of putting this together. Now, many pre-workouts have been tested. Many different brands, types of pre-workout. Like, I feel like we have exhausted the pre-workouts as much as we possibly can, trying to get them from all over the place to test them out. I would say from the ones that I've tried and the things that I've seen online, I don't necessarily think there is a pre-workout like ours. I don't think there's a formula like ours. I don't think there's a combination. Some of the things I don't think have been in pre-workouts before, as far as I know. So talk us through the process of how we've ended up here, and then we'll get through what's in it and why it's in it and what the point of it is.
Yeah, this is years of listening to the Human Labs podcast, Dr. Lane Norton, Dr. Rhonda Patrick, Dr. Atia, like some of the leading folks that have amazing podcasts and research papers and kind of bring in the data studies into how you can help. And there's been a lot of researchers that they've had that have come on that focus on performance of athletes and just various different subject matter experts on sleep and everything else. And so what we wanted to really do with this pre-workout was take the science that's behind what we know works in our bodies and the ones that don't. There's a lot of stuff that that's out there that is either experimental, maybe it works in mice studies, but it hasn't been tested in humans, and a lot of times those can work, but a lot of times they don't, or the research is so low from a control study perspective that the results really can be loose in interpretation. So what we really wanted to do is break down the barriers of what do we know works and what can we do that enhances what you're doing in the gym from not just from a performance perspective, strength and energy, because most people take pre-workouts for the energy component of that, right? To get a nice little boost so that when they go into the gym, they can work out a little bit harder to get a little bit extra on the gains. And that's what, a lot of stuff is, right? It's gaining just a little bit extra in certain areas. But what we wanted to do was say, hey, are there other things that we can do with this pre-workout that is, above and beyond just the energy components or the pump components of things, right? And so when we look at kind of the breakdown, we tackle a lot of different areas, not just from a workout perspective, but also what can also impact your workout itself. A lot of that comes down to like sleep, for example. Sleep is one of the most important aspects of recovering. And if you're not getting good and adequate sleep, well, when you go to the gym, you're going to feel like crap. You're not going to be able to put out as much. Your body's not going to be as recovered. Your muscles aren't going to be fully recovered. So there's a lot of things that go into understanding how our bodies work and really trying to get something that is a holistic approach to the pre-workout itself. And so when we looked at kind of bringing up this formula, we broke it up into a few different areas that I think were unique. And obviously, as you mentioned, Ben, we tried so many different workouts. I tried some very simple ingredient ones, ones that were basically just like beta-alanine and citrulline malate and caffeine, right?
Time that I sorry to interrupt, but there was a time I remember whenever I was back and forth with NI supplements, whenever I used to work in the gym floor, and Adam, a guy that worked there that I used to work with many years before that, he was like, why don't you just like start experimenting creating your own? And this was like maybe 6-7 years ago. So not all of the ingredients, but the majority of the ingredients that we have in here, you can buy individually. So you can buy beta-alanine, you can buy citrulline malate, and then experiment with like dosing everything together and stuff like that. So I've done that before in the past to sort of see what the best formula for me at that time was.
Yeah. And when you experiment with those different types of like chemicals that you're putting in your body, vitamins, nutrients, minerals, whatever it ends up being, again, the data studies are really important to go to say, is this actually useful in a pre-workout, or is it just kind of a filler and there isn't a lot of data studies around it, right? And so when we built it out, we really focused on number one, energy optimization, okay? Because, obviously we want our pre-workout to give you energy. And as part of that, we looked at kind of a different set of energy stacks that not only perform while you're at the gym, but also allow you to, I know we recognize a lot of people work out at night in the mornings or throughout the day. And you get those horrible caffeine crashes where, you either got to pop some more caffeine or, you have this crash where you just feel super tired and sluggish halfway through the day. And, what's actually happening there is caffeine, the way that it works is it binds to what's called our andesine receptors, which is kind of related to our circadian rhythm and our clock. And it basically hides what time of day it is to our brain. So our brain, it does have a stimulant effect around energy, but what it's really doing is making us think that it's earlier in the morning and we have a lot more energy. And so when those andesine receptors, the caffeine is not bound to those andesine receptors anymore, andesine floods then to those receptors and you get that crash of like, oh my gosh, like all of them hitting at once. All of a sudden you're super tired, you drop your energy and everything else. So when we started looking at the energy component of that, we focused on a few different things that also provide energy, but also we really focused on the caffeine component, which is caffeine anhydrous, which is off of a specific leaf extract. And that's an immediate hit of caffeine, right? You get that immediate, usually 30 minutes before. I mean, that's when we recommend taking the pre-workout, about 30 minutes before your workout. And you get that immediate energy hit from that caffeine. But we also use what's called XR, which is both what's called an extended and delayed release caffeine. And these are patented things that we license out from, a third-party research company that has done all the research. There's some great data studies behind it. And what it does is it's a delayed binding to those receptors. So what ends up happening is as the caffeine, initial caffeine hit wears off, those extended and delayed bind to those andesine receptors and still gives you that long-term feeling of energy throughout the day without that crash. So what ends up happening is let's just say you take a pre-workout at 7 o'clock in the morning, usually by noon or 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you're crashing. This alleviates that. So it's a gradual release of the andesine receptors so that you don't get the crash. And then, once you start getting towards, closer to night, now you start to be more calm. You start to be more relaxed. Those andesine receptors start to bind. You get more tired, and you're able to sleep, right? And so, those pieces there, I think, were instrumental in what we do. But we also use a few other things as well. We use Xanthanu energy, which Xanthanu is it's basically derived from what's called Cassia angofostilia plant. But basically, it's been proven in data studies and there's a lot of, again, another great research on this. It really helps enhance mental and physical stamina, mental clarity, physical stamina, by both hitting on cognitive and physical components of your body. So basically, it's energized and focused, for your training session. Again, that's another proprietary component that it's all like transparent as far as ingredients, but it's a proprietary thing that we license out from Xanthanu. to be able to leverage, the research that's gone behind that and what it actually goes and does. And then the last component is L-tyrosine. And with tyrosine, it's a amino acid that really helps with like focus and concentration. So think of it as more of a nootropic, but it gives you a lot of that brain food and brain power to really help with like cognitive function. It's also been shown to reduce stress and also help with intense physical activity based on the data studies. So like those four things alone kind of create our energy stack that allows us to like really enhance your energy, not just for the workout itself, but throughout the day as well.
Yeah, so I think the main point on that is about caffeine is caffeine doesn't actually give you the energy. It basically blocks the thing that stops you having energy. So that's the main point within that. I think for me, I guess before we get into this even any further, for anybody who wants to look at the research or the papers or anything else, we have listed all of the resources as much as we could find on the site underneath the supplement. So it is all there, like Dave said, full transparency on everything that we've put in, along with the papers and why we have put it in. But I think with this specifically, like if I think back to whenever I first started training, my pre-workout was always a double espresso because it was the caffeine and that was all the hit that I really felt like I needed. And what we've tried to do, as you said at the start, was look at the things that can give us more of an edge. So like you're talking about focus and mental clarity, like all of those things come into play a part in terms of how your session on the whole starts. And that's just looking at, like you said, these four components of it. So in terms of the energy stack and nailing that, like I think number one, we don't get that crash because I know a lot of people talk about that crash throughout the day. Whenever it comes to pre-workout. And I remember specifically when I first started taking pre-workout, I definitely felt that crash. I was like, oh, I'm not drinking coffee, but I'll drink this pre-workout. Had a really great session. And then half an hour after I had my post-workout meal, I was asleep on the sofa having a nap because I had a complete crash. So
same here.
Nailing that. And I actually had a pretty good conversation with Helmy about it. He was here picking up another tub of shell puppies. I feel like he's maybe borderline addicted to it. Can't promote it because he's sponsored by another supplement company, but he's definitely enjoying it. But that's one thing he said. He's like no crash whatsoever, and like lasting energy beyond just the gym. Like the focus that he has in sort of his work day to day after that is not something that he's got from a pre-workout specifically before.
Yeah. And I definitely feel it. Like, the pre-workouts that I've taken before in the past, again, same thing, crashes, not the same level of energy, it's not the same level of mental clarity. And so those are the big components that make up the energy stack. And then we get into the actual strength and performance components, right? So as part of this, we recognize, hey, you might be a runner, you might be a lifter, there's different things, might be more in HIIT training. So how do we hit those areas so that your muscular endurance and your muscular strength is also combined with this as well? And that's where we really focused on kind of the strength stack of it with beta alanine and beta-alanine anhydrous, which and then as well as the citrulline malate. So if you look at like citrulline malate, we went the fermented route. So if you look at there's L-citrulline malate, or there's L-citrulline, and then there's L-citrulline malate, which means fermented. And in the data studies, that fermentation process has been shown to be much more effective on absorption. Thus, giving you more of a bang for your buck on the type of ingredients you put in there. Otherwise, you have to just pack so much citrulline malate into there that it, the whole pre-workout becomes basically citrulline malate. But we dosed it really well. With one scoop, it's 2,500 milligrams. 2 scoops is 5,000, which is dosed, based on the studies that we've seen. And it's because of the absorption piece with it. What it really does is it helps promote nitric oxide production, blood flow circulation to the muscles, so kind of your pump. But what's really important is the delivery system for oxygen and nutrient delivery during sustained workouts. It's been shown that with citrulline malate, you can outperform your workouts with citrulline malate than versus without, right? So you can lift longer, run longer, perform some sort of physical activity for longer. So it's even great for like things like airsoft. Like my whole airsoft group that I run with is all hooked on it as a pre-workout. So you see everybody. It's funny because you see these bins everywhere of hacking your health, and they're all scooping it up before they go, and it helps them perform better at airsoft, right? Because obviously you're running around, you're shooting, you're in high tense situations, you have to move fast, to be clarity.
For focus.
Yeah, focused. You have to be absolutely focused. So the citrulline malate is a component of that, and then you look at the beta alanine. And this is one where, people either love or hate it. I know you're not a fan of it, but we dosed it in a way that didn't give you like the massive itches and everything else. So like a lot of people are like, oh, I love the burning of my face when it's burning off. Like not a lot of folks like that, but it is important to note that there is some good data behind beta alanine. So it basically helps like buffer the acid once it's going to the muscles. So, like when you talk about like lactic acid and acid buildup in your muscles, as you start to get more and more fatigued, this kind of helps prevent that process and reduces the fatigue basically allowing you to train harder for longer. So based on the studies, you can train again longer and harder, have better athletic performance, muscle endurance, and overall exercise capacity strictly through beta alanine, which I'm a huge fan of with that.
Yeah, and as you said, like I'm not, and I've never been a fan of beta alanine. Like I remember taking some very high doses in whatever pre-workouts before, but that feeling of like the itchiness almost distracted me from training. But even with 2 scoops, like I think it was 5,000 milligrams or for the 3,000 milligrams for 2 scoops, I don't get any of that tingly feeling whatsoever. So there's no issue with that, because I know that puts a lot of people off, and it would put me off in other pre-workouts. But like, I mean, I use this day in, day out at this stage. So there's no issues with that whatsoever.
Yep. And then the last one's betaine anhydrous. So betaine, sorry. Betaine. I have really trouble pronouncing this one. But it's
the letters don't make sense that they go in that order. Whenever you're reading it,
its abbreviation is TMG. So that's the easiest way to remembering is TMG. But based on the data studies, and this is like amino acids that are found in beets, spinach, wheat, whatever else you can find. But what they've shown in the studies is that basically by taking a certain amount of it, and we again dose it properly. So we do 1,250 milligrams with 1 scoop, and then obviously 2,500 for 2 scoops. And that has been shown in the data studies to really help with a lot of different areas around muscle strength and size. So they found that studies that athletes that took TMG daily had an increased arm size and improved bench press work capacity, improved muscle recovery, so help muscles recover faster from exercise-induced stress, improved muscular endurance. So studies show that it may improve performance in activities that emphasize muscular endurance, and also helps with reduction in body fat. So some big pieces there around the effects of that in body composition and your ability to really outperform in those. So that stack there alone with citrulline malate, with TMG and beta alanine really give you that strength and performance throughout the workout itself.
Yeah, and I think one thing that we haven't touched on yet is the sodium. I think it's gone unnoticed in this because of everything else that is within it. And as probably, hopefully at this point, everybody knows, I have for the past almost 10 years had cold, uncooked oats as a pre-workout. And 99 times out of 100, I would put salt on them. Now, salt doesn't necessarily go with oats and chocolate protein and almond butter and fruit, but salt and sodium levels in terms of what it can do for muscle contraction, how it can help regulate your hydration in your body to make sure you're not dehydrated whenever you're in your workout. Having that in the pre-workout as well. So number 1, I don't have to put salt on my oats, but number 2, we're managing your hydration levels as you go through your session as well. So yes, okay, obviously you want to make sure you're drinking water, but as you sweat and that sort of sodium level in your body starts to deteriorate, we've covered that in terms of the sodium that's in the pre-workout also.
Yep. So we put not only sodium in there, so from an electrolyte perspective, so there's 9.5 grams per 1 scoop, and then 19 milligrams, 9.5 milligrams, and then 19 milligrams of sodium. But we also use pepper as well. And pepper has been shown, pepper extract has been shown to have bioperine is a way of better absorption of ingredients. So everything that we put into there, it's all about bioavailability of how it gets to those specific systems and the absorption through your stomach. So obviously when you're digesting through your stomach, some of those components will break down. So how do you make that more bioavailable so that your body can actually use those? And agreed, the little bit extra salt and pepper in there make a big difference for the bioavailability as well as your electrolytes that you're going to be burning for it as well.
Agree.
And then we get into the players. What's that?
The 2 big players that we haven't spoken about yet.
Well, I'm getting there. I'm saving the best for last.
Okay.
So
stay tuned. They're coming.
So the pump component, which is blood flow, we talked a little bit about some of that and some of the other ingredients. Again, some of these are similar in nature, how they work mechanistically, but also, they work in different fashions. So there's a pump component to what we focus on. So when you're at the gym and you're lifting, getting that nice pump, blood flow, everything else, super sick pump. We went with a few different components there. So S7, which is, again, another proprietary blend. It's a green coffee bean extract, green tea extract, turmeric extract, blueberry extract, broccoli extract, kale extract, tart cherry extract, which all of those have shown, based on the ingredients, to really help with blood flow. S7 is one of the best in the market. It's like the gold standard when it comes to the pump components for that. And so a huge fan of S7. It helps with better blood flow, better muscle performance, increases nitric oxide levels within the body, which helps for overall circulation, nutrient delivery to the muscles, enhance muscle pumps, improves endurance, quicker recovery times, and allows you to maximize your workout effectiveness. So that's a big one. And then one of my favorite ones is taurine. So taurine really helps with muscle fatigue and basically the oxidative stress of your body itself. So like it helps with the recovery aspects, but also helps with electrolyte balances, optimal muscle function, intensity of workouts, but also your pump as well. So big one of that as well. Big fan of that as well. And then, okay, getting into the nootropic side of the house and your overall like focus and clarity, there's obviously some in there that we talked about already. You have L-tyrosine, which can be focused as a good focus stack right there. But we also added alpha GPC, yohimbe bark extract, and GABA. Those are the three ingredients that we really honed in on specifically around kind of your performance boosters / nootropics and everything else that kind of comes along with that. GABA being one of my favorites. So
these are the ones. These are ones, just again for everybody who is not maybe as well versed in beer. These are the ones that aren't usually found in pre-workouts. Like these is something that's a little bit off piste for the decision that we made.
Yep. And the current pre-workout has a lower dose of alpha GPC in it. We're testing a higher dose of that in the next version. So this is always iterating and getting better, right? So we're probably going to boost alpha GPC up in like version 1.1 once our stock is done with this, more to like 150 to 200 for one scoop and then 400 for two scoops, just based on the performance aspects and the research. But again, healthy dosage of GPC in there. GPC is really good for faster recovery, muscle building, improved strength, focus and clarity. It also increases IGF-1 or your human growth hormone factor. It's a really potent nootropic. It's actually neuroprotective, which is great. So it helps protect the brain and helps increase human growth hormone factors, muscle contraction. A huge fan of alpha GPC. And then the yohimbe extract, really good for blood flow, and it's a really good energy kick and focus type of extract. So helps with like circulation, increases adrenaline levels, notice a boost of energy and focus. So basically, helping out with that energy production, focus and clarity, mental clarity, everything else that goes along with that. And then the final one, which is my favorite one of all time, which is GABA, right? GABA is a very unique ingredient that we put into our pre-workout. And what a lot of people don't know, and a lot of people probably haven't researched, in the pre-workout area, is that GABA is an amazing sleep aid. So it helps you with your sleep, right? But if you take it as a pre-workout, it actually increases your human growth hormone factor by 5-fold, which is crazy. So you're getting the benefits of enhanced human growth hormone factor, meaning the size and volume of your muscles, your ability to recover faster, muscle soreness, your ability to outperform as you're going through. Similar results, obviously, if you're doing sauna, anywhere between 5 to 7 times a week, can also increase your natural human growth hormone factor. But GABA is an amazing one for that. So it's been shown that supplementation with GABA increases human growth hormone factor 5-fold, which is amazing, right? But it also acts as a nootropic. So we have these things. We have GABA receptors in our stomachs and we have GABA receptors in our brain. There's a lot of debate now mechanistically around how GABA gets absorbed into the brain itself, because we have this thing called the blood-brain barrier. But it looks like it's absorbed through our stomachs, ultimately then to our brains itself. What they've noticed through supplementation taking oral supplementation of GABA does increase brain level GABA levels. So that's what you want to see, right? You want to see the two things hitting, right? So there was an original study that was concerned about whether or not it just gets digested in our stomach and it doesn't actually make it to the brain. That appears to not be the case based on the more recent data studies. And what the data studies have actually shown is that supplementation with GABA, just through pill form or nutrient through stomach, actually increases the GABA levels in your brain, but also reduces stress, gives you a more positive outlook, has been shown to decrease depression, and it also drastically helps with your sleep, most specifically your REM sleep. So you're going to sleep better, but it doesn't make you sleepy. That's the thing. So taking GABA doesn't make you tired. So it's increasing your human growth hormone factor. It's acting as a nootropic, so you have more clarity and focus, and it's actually helping you sleep better, less depression, more positive outlook on life. And what has been shown is if you have low levels of GABA, you have all of these symptoms typically. If you have elevated levels of GABA, those symptoms seem to reside. So a lot of positives with GABA. I'm a huge fan of GABA, one of my favorite supplements to use, and I'm glad we were able to to get it into the dosages there. So, for one scoop, it's 750 milligrams of GABA. For 2 scoops, it's 1,500 milligrams of GABA, dosed very well in those pieces there. And I've noticed, my sleep, my sleep scores are ridiculous now.
Sending me PRs of sleep on a regular basis.
PRs of sleep have been crazy. 98% sleep, scores. Recovery has been much better, and I've noticed that difference between it. And that's the thing I want to hit with pre-workouts. So I think a lot of pre-workouts get a bad rap, and probably rightfully so, because they don't have great ingredients in them. They might not be good for you. What we really focused on with this is hey, what's good for you, for your performance? It doesn't have a negative health impact, to yourself, right? And obviously, if you're taking copious amounts of caffeine throughout the day, we're dosed appropriately on the caffeine side, so it's nothing crazy. I think, if you take total caffeine, we're really, for 1 scoop of pre-workout, it's actually 100 milligrams of caffeine and hydrous, which is the immediate hit. And then we're at 60 milligrams of the Zum XR extended delayed. So it's really 160 milligrams of caffeine per scoop. And then obviously, 160 times 2, whatever that is.
320.
320, yeah. So 320.
320, for comparison, because people are like, well, what is that in a double espresso? I'll talk about energy drinks. The majority of the energy drinks, US energy drinks, are about 300 milligrams of caffeine. So if you think of that as the comparison, so if you're having 1 scoop, that's half of whatever the energy would be.
Yep. And I'll tell you, I feel good with 1 scoop of pre-workout. That 150 or 160 milligrams of caffeine, you also have to remember it's 100 immediate hit and then 60 delayed and extended, right? So you're not getting an insane amount of caffeine flooding through your system right away, but it's still a massive energy boost. And if I really need a boost, I'll take 2. Then it's nuts.
Before it was Harambe's blood. It was 500 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah. Harambe's blood was 500 milligrams of caffeine.
No wonder our sleep was fucked up. I think the main thing, and I want to sort of hit home on this, is we spent the time in terms of dosing it properly. And I remember the first time seeing the bin, we can't fucking have a pre-workout tub that size. It's massive. And then I was like, okay, right, well, the scoop's going to be big because there's so much stuff in it. So it's we've actually spent the time putting the proper stuff in. So it's not just in it just for the fluff of it being on the label. It's everything is dosed appropriately, so you actually get the benefit of it. And to your point, in terms of it benefiting you, if we think about what the brand is called, Hacking Your Health, we wanted to aid your health as well. Yes, okay, we wanted to improve your workout, but what else can it do in terms of improving your overall health?
Yep. And that's you nailed it right in the head. That's exactly what we wanted to accomplish with it. Is exactly what we did. And I'll tell you, we're getting so much great feedback from folks on it. It's, everybody's talking about it's their best pre-workout they've ever tried. They're definitely loving it. It's a staple to their exercise and performance. They haven't noticed any negative impact to it. So it's one of those things that we really try to balance it, and we will continue as new research comes out, as new things show in the data studies to improve the formula. So each new batch that we come out with, we'll have a little bit of tweaks in it. Maybe we'll up GABA a little bit, or maybe we'll decrease it a little bit. Maybe we'll increase. Definitely planning on increasing alpha GPC. So I just got our new mystery flavor tested with a higher dosage of alpha GPC, and I felt that it had a little bit better performance on cognitive function. So again, what can we do to make this continuously better and iterate very similarly to how we do in programming? You have a new version of a new release, version 1, version 1.1, version 1.2. And so, we're continuously trying to make it better, but it's all with the mindset of trying to help you out from a performance perspective. And again, if you are hey, I really don't like pre-workouts, you can get all these ingredients and supplement, in many ways. GABA is a great thing to take before you go to bed. GABA is a great thing to take before you do as a pre-workout. You can get, supplements online from Amazon, those types of things. So, you can make your own decisions on those. You don't have to necessarily go and buy our specific one. So,
but I would recommend that you do.
I'd recommend it.
But yeah, so I think that was good. We covered everything. I'm actually proud you were able to get that in the time frame, because I feel like I said, we could have talked about that for absolutely hours. All information is available on the website, hackinghealth.com, on every ingredient, what the dosage is. The cool feature that Arjun probably spent way more time than he would like to admit to, of the slider of if you have a half a scoop or 1 scoop or 1.5 or 2, what you get in terms of doses of each is a cool feacher on the site too. So if you haven't done that, go and play with it. And as I said, all the research and study.
One thing I also mentioned too is that on the website itself at Hacking Your Health, if you go to the research side, it lists all the ingredients that we have, all of the breakdowns of supplements, and all the research literature that we used while researching this. So if you want to dive down into a crazy rabbit hole of scientific research or why we decided to go certain ways, you can definitely do that.
Please do. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
Cool. Right. 2 reminders. Number 1, I'm going to release the Berlin After movie, which absolutely was potentially one of the most crazy events that I have ever hosted. I'm going to release that next Friday, which will be the 15th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to tune in for that, I will be watching it live and laughing at the comments. And next week, we're going to talk about how to navigate the holidays, because obviously it's coming up that time of year where everything becomes a shit show. So what we're going to be doing, I mean, I'll not be now as getting Thanksgiving, but you obviously will. Make sure you get the proper cream for the pumpkin pie this time and don't fuck it up and have to get the fucking Uber Eats guy to come and save the day. And yeah, what we'll do to navigate the holidays, parties, Christmas, everything that sort of comes along with that. So tune in next week and we'll go through that.
Awesome. That's it for us, man. Thanks for checking in, everybody. Appreciate you all the time for listening to us, and we'll catch you again next same time, same place next week.
See you next week.